Welcome, everybody, to episode 9 of the Retic Rebellion podcast. Today, we're going to be discussing negativity and the bad things about the Retic community. I am Levi with the Reptile Collection to Remember, 1/3 of Triple Threat Retics. Welcome, everybody, to the live. Lee, go ahead and take it.
Hey, I'm Lee, formerly of Urban Heart Exotics. I'm 1/3 of Triple Threat. And then go ahead, Bill.
Bill, and I am with CNB and Triple Threat.
All right. And then we got our guests in here. We got Brian Whitehead from High Desert Herps. Did I get that right? Oh. Yeah, all right. And then Brian Watkins from Hell Creek Reptiles. How's it going, boys?
Yo.
Yes, sir. What's up, everybody? Hello, Brian Whitehead here.
Nice. All right. So, yep, we wanted to get going.
That was
late. No worries. Step on me with those. I like it. No, we wanted to get going. Obviously, if anyone hears anything about the Retic community when that gets brought up from anyone, one of two things really get said, and one of two things are, oh, Retics, what are those? And the next thing is the Retic community I heard is toxic, and they're generally right. It's a pretty negative community, and it's got a reputation for being negative. And for us that love the species, we really would love to change that, because there's few of us in other groups and communities that are way better, way more positive, and are a lot more fun. And that's what this should be for the animals that we love. So we're going to talk about it, because the only way to get rid of it is to call it out and shine a light on it. Look at that.
Exactly. I agree. Sorry, Brian. I've got you single screened, and it changed the settings from the last time I used. Hold on.
It's fine. I mean, look at that. That's dope.
Brian, tell us about your croc monitor real quick before.
Yeah, this is my boy Hannibal. He's a 2-year-old captive bred crocodile monitor, and he's like a family pet. It's awesome.
Sweet.
Nice.
Love how I just snuggled up with you. That was awesome.
Yeah, yeah, he likes to do that.
Brian's back.
All right.
Sorry, guys, I'm back. I'm having computer issues.
No worries. It happens to the best of us. All right. So,
go ahead, Lee.
No, I was going to say, is there anything that you guys feel different about what I was saying, that it's pretty negative and it shouldn't be, and we all love these animals and we want it to be more fun to be involved with? Or am I out on a limb here?
No, I think you're
100% agree.
Yeah, I mean, I think as somebody that's relatively new to Retics, I've been doing them for less than 2 years, and I had heard of the industry before I even entered it, and I kind of didn't believe it, to be honest with you. And now, as somebody that's been in it for a couple of years, it's awful. It's fucking awful. I'm like, hey, I hate to say it, but it is. It's the worst community I've ever been part of, and I've been a part of a lot of them. So obviously that's one of the reasons you guys brought me on here tonight, is to kind of talk about that, and I'm going to expand on that. But yeah, I mean, absolutely, it is not a good community whatsoever.
No, I mean, Bill, you've been in the Retic community for what's been your experience? What were your thoughts before? Did you hear anything? I didn't really hear the reputation. I just kind of joined it.
I didn't know anything about negativity. I started when I found Retics. I found Reach Out Reptiles. I found Garrett Hartle. I met Garrett Hartle, talked to him, bought a lot of snakes from him, and I learned Retics that way. I watched all his YouTube videos, and it was all positive. This is great. And then the more and more we got into it, I started seeing some cracks in the community that I couldn't believe. And so at the time, I think Garrett had been bashed a little bit, and he took it in stride. But that was the first time that I was exposed to anything like that. I was actually with him going to West Virginia. We were doing a road trip when all this drama happened with him in the past. And, you know, then I started saying, who are these people? What the fuck? You know? And then I saw it happen to the two Bryans and other people, and it's not good.
Now it's kind of happening to us too. Now
I mean, I
we're
don't
in the
know what
limelight.
we
That's
did.
kinda,
All we did was put a post out that we were going to have this episode and talk about things. Before that,
and
nobody ever mentioned triple threat retics.
exactly. And you know what's really crazy about that? Like going back on the lore of this episode, right? This episode was reshaped and redesigned based on the attacks that we got. We had no
Absolutely.
plan of getting as in depth and crazy with it. It was more of like I'll keep it 100, right? This is YouTube, and if you don't think this works, you're full of it. The most successful people on YouTube do it. It was more of a clickbait thing, right? We were gonna chop it up on some negativities and some things we could change, and then we came at out of nowhere by multiple people and multiple things, and we hadn't said anything to these people. I was associated with a couple of them, but nothing like we've received over the last couple of weeks here, where our names being thrown around. You know, for example, Rodney, I'm going to mention you by name, and I am going to reply to this. You mentioning Bill and Samson in the same phrase is completely unacceptable. Don't ever do that again. You know what you're doing. It's shady. It's disgusting. Bill is head and shoulders above that mess. Any association with that as a person, as a reptile keeper, and foremost, a business owner, a successful business owner. It completely unacceptable. And that's really where this episode reshaped, was things and behavior exactly like that. Yeah. I'm not a fan of it. I consider Bill family. There are so many people in Arizona that will vouch for it. Bill's got a successful reptile expo where it's nothing but love and family. It's unity 360. There ain't no bickering, ain't no fighting. So don't ever say ego, this, authoritarian, that. Oh, he reminds me of Samson. Hell no, bro. We don't play that here. And that episode reshaped.
Yeah,
I appreciate that, Levi. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck to think. What the fuck? You know, where'd this come from? Whatever, we roll with it, but
yeah,
it happened.
I mean, Levi, before we get to Brian, because he's definitely he's going to have some things to say about negativity in the community for sure. He's been the focus of some of that negativity. But what was your impressions, or what were you told before you got into this with us about the Retic community? Because I know you had it, you handled Retics and stuff. I mean, really getting involved and becoming like a part of this.
Man, I heard so much, man. I don't have time on an episode to tell you all the things I heard. I did hear there were some good. There was a lot more bad than there was good, but there was some good, right? A lot of egos being thrown around, a lot of fighting, a lot of bickering, a lot of old school gatekeeping mentalities. You know, a lot of bullying. You'll never make it as a new keeper, so on and so forth. You know, it just all around was like more of like a stay away situation.
Yeah. Were you like, it can't be that bad?
Yeah. At one point I was like, there's no way it can't be that bad. And then I dabbled in it before, you know, messing with Bill and CMB, and I just kind of was more of a keeper than anything else. And I joined some pages and I seen a lot of stuff I didn't like. So I've kept my distance for the most part and just done the little minimal things I've done with Retics, keeping them, and then just keeping it local to Arizona, working with the rehabilitations of them and so on and so forth. But the big scale community, man, it doesn't have that great of a reputation, unfortunately.
Yeah. No, it doesn't. And now speaking of negative things and negativity, you know, I think some of the bad things is people like reaching out to other people's customers and telling them lies or spreading misinformation about their animals. That's a pretty negative thing in the community that needs to definitely stop. Rising tides lift all boats. I mean, if you don't like something someone's doing or you have a disagreement, why don't you reach out and talk to them man to man with a respectful, you know, conversation and see where that goes. If you still disagree, you still disagree. And then after that, just shut the fuck up and keep to yourself. How about that? So I like that. Let your animals speak for themselves. Okay. Don't throw down. A lot of the negativity is like, I'm going to
100%.
try this person's animals to lift mine up. I'm not for that. So that shit is negative and it needs to stop.
Agreed.
No.
Brian, what was your take? I mean, you're coming from a very similar Brian W. You're coming from a very similar aspect to me in the fact that we're both coming out of different communities, we both dabble in different things. I mean, you've been around for a while and you're successful in other fields of this industry. What's your take?
Yeah, so I got my first retake from Brian Watkins at an expo a little over a year and a half ago. And I remember I was so jacked about my first retake. I started talking to people about it. I'm like, shit, I want more. I got to get more. And everybody's like, dude, don't bother. Don't get into retakes. Just the people, not good people. And I've been, and I'm going to go into a little bit of my background in a bit, but I've been part of a lot of reptile communities, and I honestly brushed it off. I deal with shitty people in different communities, and it's part of doing reptiles, but I honestly had no idea. And I can kind of get into my couple quick forays into the retake community because it has not been good. But yeah, I was warned about it, and I kind of brushed it off myself. But it is a very negative community, 100%. There's absolutely no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah. Now, Brian Watkins, I mean, you're the elder statesman here. Let us have it. What is everything, all the negative, like from the beginning to end, what's kind of changed, but what's still stayed the same as far as the negative things that you see in this community and what you think? I mean, and you've been seeing it for a while. What's at the breaking point? What absolutely has to change? Like, it's just enough's enough. It needs to change.
Man, I don't really know where to begin. I do know that there's been, negativity ever since I got into reptiles, over 20 years ago. I think the internet just kind of changed everything. If you ever go to a reptile show, you never hear people say the things to your face that they'll say to you online. And it seems like every show that I've done, and I've done a lot of them, I make friends, and it's a strong community. People help you out. I've been in situations where I needed help from another vendor, somebody I didn't know, and they were glad to help me out. So, I mean, there is that strong, that tight knit community. It does exist. I think it's just mainly online. It's easier for people just to hide behind a computer or their phone and just talk shit. And I when I first started getting back into the reptile, the Retic groups on Facebook, I mean, it's some of the stuff that I've had said to me. It's like kind of not that bad as far as some of the other things I've seen people say about other people. Like just huge arguments and all kinds of drama. I mean, it just seems like it's always there in the background. But I mean, it just depends on who it just depends on who you the kind of friends you make and who you surround yourself with. And if you surround yourself with like-minded people, and who are mature and don't hate, and all that, I think you'll have a really good circle of friends and not a tight-knit community. So I don't know where I'm getting the hate from. I mean, I'm not a liar. I'm very transparent. I don't try to trick people. I mean, I've been really successful with my animals and breeding. I'm really good at it now, and I just I've made a lot of friends. I've helped a lot of people. I've turned a lot of new people on to retics, and I think it's just when somebody's having success, there's people out there that they don't like it. They want to see you fail, or that person fail, So I think I'm kind of numb to it now. I get pissed off when I see people say stuff, because I work hard, man, and I hate it to hear that kind of shit, but at the same time, I think it's wise just to kind of step back and you know, there's a revolving door in this community too. There's a lot of people that come in and they're gone in a year or two. And I think a lot of the real troublemakers are the new people. They get pulled into this drama and they start a lot of shit and then they just fucking disappear. You know, so it's best just to sometimes just, you know, I don't know, ignore it maybe, or just not respond to it.
Well,
you know,
new people can be manipulated, unfortunately, and that's
Yeah.
a problem too, right?
Yeah.
So
They're easily influenced. They don't know any better, right?
Yeah. No. No.
Yep.
No, and it is super frustrating to have that happen. And you know, there are certain people that keep being the same, you know, butt of the problem. But yeah, I mean, there's some of the shit that I've seen that's come your way and stuff, and some of the things that are said about you or what that's been now attached to you. Like, what I don't think is cool, it's another negative thing in the community. It's like, oh, if you have a Hell Creek reptile animal, I'm going to blackball you. I'm not going to buy from you. Like, I'm not going to do, like, that shit is so wild. Because someone owns an animal from someone else you don't like for some reason, because someone told you not to like them. Now you're just not going to buy their animals, or you're just going to now hate them because you have to. That's dumb. We're getting really dumb at that point. What did that person do to you? What the fuck are we talking about at this point? This is really stupid. And to keep punishing someone or keep like saying, hey, don't fucking buy from the animal because something he did 5 years ago, he made a mistake that he's owned up to and said, hey, yeah, I misidentified this or whatever. When someone like does that and then says, no, I didn't, and then keeps double and tripling down, that's the problem. And then that's the shit that can be said and talked. But when someone goes, oh shit, that's what I was told, that was my bad, that's a mistake, and it's also a pretty reasonable this versus that kind of morph that are pretty similar. I mean, come the fuck on. Shut up. And that was a long fucking time ago. And don't tell me you've never misidentified fucking anything. We all have. We all will. And it's not a matter of if you misidentify something, it's when you're going to. When you start stacking genes, you're going to get it fucking wrong. All right?
Dude, let me resonate. Let me echo. Take a little shot there on that. And Brian, you know this because you dabble in colubrids. You know it. How many times do you accidentally misidentified a colubrid? It happens, right? You look at something and you're like,
it happens.
You know, I think it's this, or I'm pretty confident it's this. So you say it, and then someone's like, oh, no, it's this. But if you notice a difference in the communities, that's always followed up with that, check this out. This is why it's different. This is where you can tell. This is how you can tell. And it could be 100 different ways to Sunday and how you tell, right? We don't shit on each other because we mis-ID something.
It's fucking wild.
No, people are allowed to make mistakes.
Times. I mis-ID shit still to this day. I think it's something, and then it's like, no, I got to consult an expert sometimes. So I'm like, you know.
Can I make a comment real quick?
Yeah.
So I hatch out probably around 200 supernova retics every year. And I've been doing that pretty consistently for a while, several years. And I've been selling primarily on on Morph Market. And you know, when somebody said, you'll never in any of my reviews, I have over 160 5-star reviews on Morph Market. Not one of them is negative. Okay, so out of all the animals I've sold on Morph Market, nobody's ever complained to me about me misidentifying animals ever. So I mean, people will talk, and you know, I've said bad things about people like, you know, Samson. That's legit. Like that guy's a piece of shit, and I've warned people about him, and I think that's, you know, doing that is like legitimate. But just if you're just somebody on a Facebook group and you post somebody's picture of an animal you got from somebody, and somebody says, oh, well, you know, you blah, 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 blah. They start telling all these lies or whatever, you know, you may or may not believe it. I mean, you really should just like take a step back and say, like, why is this person doing this? It's pretty obvious. They really don't have your best intentions in mind. They're just trying to slander someone, like try to hurt someone's name. You know?
Those morph market reviews. Those morph market reviews is what I had heard a lot of things bad about Brian, you know, and I read his morph market reviews and I said, this can't fucking be. Fuck it. I'm buying a snake from him. I love this snake. Fuck it. I bought one. I got to know Brian. And I can tell you right now, he is not the way he's portrayed. It's bullshit.
Well, it's only a small group of people that are doing it. I mean, honestly.
It's Facebook or something, it's Facebook posts. It's not reality. The reality is out in Arizona, we sold a ton of Hell Creek reptiles this year, retics. So that's the reality. People were coming to me specifically for your snakes.
Good.
That's
cool.
facts. I've been there. I've seen it myself, and then I'm sure there's a handful of customers out there that'll vouch for it. Well, you've got a good reputation here.
Well, and on top of that, I mean, Brian's produced. I mean, how many retics would you think you've produced in the last, I don't know, 10 years? Let's just throw a 10 years number. How many do you think you've produced?
Probably like 700 or something like that, maybe more.
Okay, and maybe one or two get misidentified out of 700. Well, I think your fucking hit rate is pretty good at that point. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know when you want to bring that up about that one issue, but that's mainly where that centers around was that one issue I had with. And
I would like to get to that because that is kind of what I'm getting at is like punishing someone or holding someone accountable to something that happened. How long ago did this scenario happen?
Well, I bought the snake in 2021, I guess, and I bred it. I bred it that year. And I hatched out the babies, and I didn't really sell any of them. I mean, they're mostly all males. I sold a couple pair. I kept most of the platinums back. So I mean, I don't know. But when I posted, I was actually selling some of them like for like a lot of money on Morph Market, and that's when things it blew up. But that was like last year or something, early last year.
Okay. So, and has an issue like this ever happened before?
No.
Okay. So 1 in 700. I mean, fuck. Yeah. I don't know, but that sounds like it's like 99.99999 something. Okay.
It wasn't even like my fault. I mean, I was told by the breeder, what the female was. I was told it was a Sunfire Pied, and when I got all the babies, I used a pure Calatoa, who is either het or a pure Aneri. And I wasn't sure if it was Sunfire that was just kind of green, because the babies were green. They didn't look platinum. They kind of did, but it was kind of like I didn't know, so I raised them up. But once I started talking to somebody about it, it made more sense to me that I actually was like, I was happy to hear that the breeder misidentified it, because I would have rather have had a platinum het pieds than Sunfire het pieds, because you can make cool stuff with it. So I mean. But it was just that one little thing, and it turned into this, turned into a whole bunch of other stuff. I don't know how to identify traits, which is it's bullshit. That is such bullshit.
Yeah.
So
it's the negativity. It's people grabbing one little thing they can about you and just trying to like make it into this massive deal. People make mistakes.
But notice I'm not dropping the guy's name where I got that pied. I'm not. It is what it is. I'm kind of over it. Hopefully I'm going to get some eggs out of the female that I held back. So I'll make some Calatoa ivory pieds. Hopefully, but I'm not trying to throw that guy under the bus. He made a mistake. I'm not going to fucking slam him online about it. Even though he's the one. He fucking came back to me and said I'm the one. Dude, I don't even want to get into it. But he just went off on it.
Yeah, no, but like, I mean, that's pretty like if you get to explain the scenario in the context, because if someone just says, hey, he misidentifies animals, there's no context to the actual story of how that came to be. Yeah. This makes a lot more sense. You were told an animal was something different than a normal popped out. The only thing it could have possibly been, what you were told, is a Sunfire, but they weren't. They're platinums, and that's what you wanted anyways.
Well, that's also, I mean, like, when you start combining, when you start stacking a lot of codon genes, it can be kind of hard to see what's going on too. So, I mean, I honestly, whatever. I mean, I just can't wait for people to see what I'm going to be hashing out this next season, and then they can talk all the shit they want. I'll just laugh. So whatever.
No, but I think it is important to give context to what they're trying to bash you on, because now can you really is it the end of the world? Is this gonna? Did it hurt? What did it do to you?
No, nothing.
I mean, it's like I was saying earlier. Me and Brian, dude. Every time we get a colubrid wrong, shit, cancel us. You know what I mean? Like, damn, we'd have been canceled 100 times over. It
Yeah.
happens. I'm sure somebody out there, oh, well, there's like 1,000 billion colubrids. There's only so many morphs. But when you limit the colubrids down, there's only so many families and so many things. And it's like, you get close, you know, and that, Brian, I'll come to your defense as like a newbie outside looking in, right? I'm trying to work with Pied, and Platinum Pied and Sunfire Pied. I have to fucking ask on that one. Like, I'm sure, like, if I sat here and studied it for 100 hours, I'd figure it out eventually. But I still, to like this day, question Pied morphs, and then I'll misidentify things in my head. I'm like, I think it's this. I mean, obviously, I know better than say anything out loud because I get shitted on. But it happens.
It's good that you brought that up. Sunfire and Pied. So a platy Sunfire, I've hatched out a couple clutches like that, and I'll tell you, sometimes it's hard to tell what's what. I mean, the Sunfires are pretty obvious, and the Platinums are pretty obvious. But sometimes there's low expression or high expression of the two genes together. So some will scream, some platy, some you're like, shit, I don't know. You know what I mean? So it just goes to show what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's gonna happen to the best of us, man. And it's kicking a dead horse, man. It's the same thing over and over and over again. I'll keep it 100 with you. 99.9% of what I've seen negative about you is the same story, either reworded or the same exact story over and over and over again. It's the same insult. It's the same thing people are saying. So it's like, if that's the same thing 100 times over, we get it the first time, bro. Why do you have to use the other 99? Why is this the same thing being talked about? Because I bet you dollars to donuts, that's the only thing you have to talk about this person.
Well, hey, that's the thing. That's the thing. There's nothing they can use against me.
That's it. Like, just let it be. Let it go.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. That, I mean, none of what that said, when they say, hey, this guy misidentifies stuff and he's a liar, they never put context like, hey, this was the story and this is what happened. Because if they did, they would know that they sound fucking stupid. That's why.
You know what would be shady is if like I had a retic, whatever. Let's just say it's a normal retic that had such real striped out, and I try to sell somebody, try to sell it to somebody as a tiger. I'm knowingly lying to them, trying to get more money out of it. That's different. That's like seriously lying, trying to trick people, which I don't fucking do. I don't know. I don't do that.
Yeah. No.
I never once heard that about you, big dog.
No. Absolutely not.
What are some of the other things? I mean, we know the mis-ID, but there's been so many other bullshit things that.
Well, go ahead.
I've heard the same thing about you, Bill. I've heard the ego. I've heard the God complex. I've heard things, and it's again all in that same ballpark, right? It's just reworded. I shouldn't even say ego and God complex and the same thing. It's essentially the same thing, right? But Brian, since talking to you, I don't see it, and I get accused of this all the time. And my question is to anybody that's going to jump on this podcast after and start talking shit in the comments: are you leadership in anything? Period. And if you're not, go try it. You might learn a handful of things from it. You're going to fail. You're going to fall face first. It's an ego check. And it helped me a little bit with like where I was struggling with my ego, right? And people easily mistake ego and confidence. There's a very fine line. Brian, I would say you're confident. You're not egotistical. And people do get scared of that. And I'm not insulting anybody by that. It's easily mistaken where somebody's confident, stands 10 toes in what they say and what they do. And people mistake that for ego nowadays. And it's a very easy mistake to make. And I genuinely feel like people do that. But because I am very similar to you, Brian, I'm going to stand 10 toes. I don't care. If I'm right, wrong, I'm going to learn that I'm wrong on the tail end. But what I stand on, I believe in. I have faith in what I do. I stand 10 toes. But I've also seen you admit when you're wrong. That's the difference. That's the key difference. Somebody with an ego will never admit they're wrong. I'll admit I'm wrong. You admitted you were wrong. It is what it is. That,
I think another thing that is thrown, recently was just mentioned about the Bushmaster line that I have. And I think I've talked to several other people about this, and there's really no standardized way of going about that. Okay. Everybody kind of has their own opinion or way of doing things and reasoning. And, I've talked to people who said they name their lines after their females, or they name their lines after their business. Or, so, I mean, I guess everybody's definition is of lineage is maybe slightly different. Okay. But the way I see things is the lineage has an origin, and the origin starts with the importer. So come on, dude. And that's the way I like it. Now, if somebody wants to criticize me for that, then fuck them. I think that's legit. And I know a lot of other people that would agree with me. People want to know who brought this shit in the country. Okay. And then if you start mixing different lines, then make up a name for it. Who cares what you call it? As long as you have the provenance with the animals. So that's what I got to say about that.
Wait, hold on. Let me get this straight. I don't think I understood what this. So is the whole thing they're just upset because you said the name Bushmaster or said name Bushmaster line?
They're mad because I didn't do things the way they think it should be done. And what my point was is that everybody does it differently. People I've talked to, it's just preference, I guess, basically. So I don't,
it's now that's
not.
If you're naming an F1 line, it should be named after the importer.
I agree.
Naming it after the breeder doesn't even make any fucking sense.
Hold on, real quick.
F1 line, it needs to be named after the importer. The only thing we're worried about is where it came from, and the onus of that is on the importer. If we're talking something different, if we're talking designer lines or F2, F3, whatever.
Yeah.
This discussion it's crazy. Honestly, an F1 line should be named after the importer.
Totally. I didn't know why we went that direction when we were talking about that, because I'm going to be honest with you. I thought this whole line and lineage thing was based off of them trying to say you grabbed an old school line and named it Kalatoa, or this whole TK thing not being legitimate. I didn't know that this whole fucking drama was over what you decided to name something. Are you kidding me?
That's part of what.
Kidding me?
Yeah, well, that guy's grasping at straws. He's just trying to figure out ways to discredit me and make me look bad. I mean, it's retarded. It really is fucking retarded. And I totally agree with Brian. There's hundreds of other people in the reptile industry that agree with that too. It's called a lineage for a reason. There's an origin, and in my opinion, and many other people's opinion, the origin starts with the importer. I mean, that's it.
Right. I can't believe how dumb this drama is.
Yeah.
Let me try to add some substance. Let me try to add some substance to this, right? Brian W.
Which one?
Brian W. Oh, damn it. What Brian Whitehead.
Whitehead? Yeah, that's me.
We're gonna start saying
you can call me Whitehead if you want.
Whitehead.
Yeah. Anyways, where do you get saying that from? Right? What experience do you have away from retics that tells you that's how this is supposed to go with the what you're saying about lineage? Because that's all these conversations and this bickering and this arguing. Nobody ever goes, hey, I've been doing this for 50 years and blah, so on and so forth. Why would let's actually reword the question. Why should retics stick with that lineage, right? Because I'm also queuing at your past here because you work with multiple things. It's like that in other industries, right?
Well, yeah, it's also a little bit of common sense, but when we're arguing about lineage and specifically about a locality, we are worried about what the importer is saying from the people that they got these animals from. Okay, so the best comp I guess I can kind of give is if we imported 20 Karampas, let's say, okay, and Brian Watkins and I took all of them, and we each had 5 pairs, okay. What we're trying to represent, these are F1 animals. We're trying to represent where they came from in the wild. We're not making designer lines. We're making F1 animals, okay. These aren't F2, F3. We haven't started looking for polygenic traits. These are directly from the importer. Brian and I now have 5 pairs of each, okay? There's absolutely no difference between the animals produced from the 5 pairs that I have and the 5 pairs that Brian has. those in the hobby and community, just by common sense, we are trying to track lineage back to where they came from the wild. Those need to be represented in one of two ways. There's only one of two ways that it can be done, okay, to accurately represent those. One, you represent them by importer in the year they were imported, which is the proper and correct way to do it, okay? Because no breeder is going to do the second way. The second way is if you wanted to identify each of those 10 pairs independently, you could also do that. And then if you wanted to do that, I got time for, okay, name them after the breeder. But the fact of the matter is pair 1 that I have is no different from pair 2 that I have to pair 3 to pair 8 that Brian has to pair 9. So they either all need to be represented the same or each individual pair needs to be represented differently. And I'm sorry, guys, there is no argument for another way to do it when we're talking about representing F1 wild animals coming from the wild. Okay. So this is also important because I work with different monitors and Australian monitors, and you see the same thing. You don't get new blood in Australian monitors. Now, it also becomes important when you talk about like locality of tree monitors and things like that. Okay. But the bottom line is it's if we are worried about locality, it doesn't fucking matter who bred them. It doesn't matter. That doesn't indicate a goddamn thing about the locality. That tells you absolutely nothing about where those animals came from. Okay. Hopefully the breeder that bred them got some paperwork from the importer, and hopefully the fucking importers are actually getting them from reliable exporters, right? It all goes all the way back to the exporters. But the bottom line is you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't name an F1 line after yourself just because you bred it. That's not how it works. I'm sorry. It's not. Unless you want to name every single individual pairing as its own individual line that comes into the country. And that's just not the way it's done. So, I mean, we could have this argument and we can have this discussion. And maybe now you guys want to give me the floor and let me just ramble for 20 minutes and kind of give everybody my background. I don't know. Obviously, I'm prepared and ready to do that whenever, but
go for it.
Yeah,
go for it.
I guess that's my
hold on.
The whole locality thing is it's just incorrect the way people are saying to do it.
Right, Brian, hold on. Pause real quick.
Yeah,
Lee, go ahead.
The one last negative thing I'm going to throw in here, because I'm just still fucking blown away about this fucking argument that I really could not. I cannot fucking believe how stupid this argument is. Okay, another negative fucking thing in this goddamn industry that's been happening for fucking ever, and you know who you are that do this, because it's the same 2 or 3 of you that fucking do this. Okay, you cannot tell people what they can fucking do with their animals. You can't tell them how to name their lines. You can't tell them what to breed. You can't tell them how much to sell it for. You can't tell them any of that shit because it's none of your fucking business, you fucking communist. So shut the fuck up, okay? Shut the fuck up and keep to your fucking selves. Do you, boo-boo. Okay?
Amen, brother.
Thank you. Enough.
Amen.
Nice.
Sorry.
This is America, god damn it.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. Do you want me to dive into my whole thing now, my spiel?
Yeah.
What happened to you, Brian? You got it.
Okay. And that was a great segue, Lee, because one of my big points is basically exactly what you just said. So thank you. So everybody, again, I'm Brian Whitehead. I own and operate High Desert Herps. I am a professional reptile breeder. So that sounds cool. What does that mean? Okay. I make 100% of my income breeding reptiles. Okay. I don't have another job. I don't have any other sources of income, any other sources of money. I don't flip animals. I don't buy and sell animals. I don't do podcasts. This is the only the second time I've ever been on a podcast. I breed animals. I breed animals and I sell them, and that's how I make a living for my family. Okay. My business now primarily consists of breeding monitor lizards, and I work with a ton of different species of monitor lizards, some of the rarest in the country. but all sorts of different monitor lizards. And that's probably about 60 to 70% of my business. The rest is I have some rare colubrid snakes, not many colubrid snakes anymore, just some Pituophis depi, a hypo project that I'm working, and some other Pituophis. And then I have Helodermas. So those are all in a shed brew mating right now. I work with Gila monsters and several different species of beaded lizards.
Oh, that's cool. You didn't mention that yesterday.
Yep. So Helodermas do those too. I've produced beadeds for about 5 years and Gilas for the last 2, and I just got a bunch of my animals up to breeding age for this next season. So hopefully many more. And then I also breed crested geckos. Not worth much money, but hey, like Lee said, breed what you like, and I like them. They're cool as hell. I like the way they look, and they're fun. Again, they're not worth a lick of money anymore, but
hey, pause. Hold on. Pause real quick. No. Shout out to you for bringing that up because crested geckos are badass. They're awesome fucking lizards.
Them,
they're fun. Shout out to the crested community.
They're dumb as a rock, which I find to be more endearing than ever. But so yeah, that's my background. And then obviously the big thing is I just got into reticulated pythons and have been doing that now, super dwarfs, pretty much exclusively for the last little over a year and a half. So yeah, that's what I do. And here's the thing about myself. I built this business from the ground up. I have been a reptile collector and breeder for as long as I can possibly remember. I started collecting ball pythons when I was 18, 19 when I graduated, and I bred ball pythons and boas while I went through university. I was a chemical engineer for over a dozen years out of school, and all the while I collected reptiles, worked this job, built my reptile collection. I was in sales and did very, very, very well for myself and poured a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into my reptiles. And man, it was a fucking grind for a long time. And all the while I did this because I loved it, because I love the reptiles, man. I love reptiles. I love reptiles more than just about anything in this world. Other than my family, this business is my passion. It's what I do. I work more hours than anybody I've ever met in my life, but you will never once hear me complain about it. I am living my dream job. All the while I was working, I was collecting reptiles, breeding, hoping that one day I'd get to retire early and live the dream and breed reptiles. And let's face it, COVID was a boom, and I got lucky with some things, and I fucking smashed some things out of the park, and I invested all that money back into my business. And here I am, where I was able to walk away from, again, a chemical engineering job 4.5 years ago to start and do this business full time. And like I said, I do it because I'm an animal lover. I love and respect the shit out of every single animal that I own, and I own a lot of animals, okay? I have 2 dogs, a green-winged macaw, like dart frogs in the house. Getting back to a little bit more of my experience, because I have been involved in so many freaking reptile communities and bred so many different reptiles. I started out with the boas and ball pythons like a lot of people did back in the 06 to kind of 010, 011 range. When I started my career, I actually got out of reptiles for about 2 years and then got back into things and bred panther chameleons, dart frogs, shipped thousands of dart frogs for a few years, way back 15 years ago, probably. So I did chameleons, dart frogs, and then I got into chondros for a while. So I bred green tree pythons for probably 3 or 4 years. And to be frank with you, I wasn't very fucking good at it. They're a hard species to breed. I tell you what, I know a lot more about breeding animals now than I did back then. Again, that was almost 15 years ago. But I bred chondros. I produced babies. All the while, it was during then that I got into dry marcon, and that's how I learned about colubrids. And so my my collection kind of shifted about probably between 10 and 15 years ago, and I stopped doing chondros and started doing colubrid snakes, and that's also when I got into monitors. So my first monitors that I ever got were my pair of wild caught, which were sold to me as captive bred at the time, the old fucking Joe Switalski switch, but pair that I still have of wild. What was that?
That's funny, dude. I wonder whatever happened to that guy.
I have no idea. If you know monitors, you know that name though. You guys know the name.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it was about 10 or 15 years ago that I got into monitors and dry mark-on, and then I did bull snakes for a long time. And it was 2 years ago that I met Brian at the show. I got my first retic, and at that time I decided that I didn't like the way I was keeping my bull snakes. I decided that I didn't have the space I wanted to be able to provide for bull snakes. So I got out of all my bull snakes. It's kind of funny. I got into bigger snakes in retics, but I made some big investments into my breeding quarters to make that happen, I guess. So that's kind of my background. Again, I have been involved in a lot of reptile communities in the past. And again, it's what I do now every day, all day, every day. I guess at this point, I kind of want to dive into, like, there's a few things that I think people need to consider as we talk about the negativity in the retic community and as I see it. And these are kind of like, in my opinion, almost life lessons, and certainly things that can be applied to any reptile community. But and Lee kind of already got to part of the first one, okay? And so after I go through these couple things, I just want you guys to think about this, and then I'm going to point out the negativity as I see it, and a couple reasons of why I think the negativity might exist. And then I'll give you guys my actual interactions, because my interactions have been very limited with the community, but I think they display very well some of the issues with it. So, again, before I dive into the meat and potatoes, as I guess think of it, keep these things in mind as I kind of go through some of this shit. Okay. Like Lee said, nobody has a right to dictate, or in my opinion, even comment on what animals you breed, and for that matter, what you sell those animals for. Okay. People breed animals for different reasons, and people also have different selling motives. Just like people have different buying motives, people sell animals for different reasons too, right? Like, obviously somebody that sells it as a business is different than a boutique breeder that sells, one clutch a year. Okay. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But the second thing, and this is really important, guys, this is true in any market. It is true in the reptile market too. Market price is determined by the consumer and not by the manufacturer. Okay. That's it in business terms. What does that mean in the fucking reptile world? It means market price is not determined by the people selling the snakes. It is determined
shout
by
out
the
to
people
Kia and Hyundai.
What was that?
I said shout out to Kia and Hyundai. They figured that out too.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Exactly.
Just to bring it back to a bigger market than reptiles could ever touch, that the consumer says.
I say that because here's a common misconception that people need to think about and realize in the reptile world. If you post 10 snakes for $3,000 and you have 8 of them 6 months later, the market for that fucking snake is not $3,000 just because that's what you think it is. I'm sorry. That is not the way markets work. Okay. So I'll say it again. Market prices are not determined by the breeders. They're determined by the sellers. Okay. The third thing is just a freaking, it's the Brian Barczyk rule. Be kind. Don't be an asshole. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't fucking say anything at all. If you see somebody posting and they're excited about their new animals, don't feel the need to question who they got it from. Oh, I don't like that fucking guy, so I'm going to make a bad comment about it. No, if you don't like it, move along. Oh, I don't like that guy. Just move along then. Don't fucking say anything, okay? And then the last thing, guys, is realize that almost everybody that you get advice from out there has an ulterior motive. So think a little bit about what people are telling you and what people are trying to have you believe. Some of the fucking shit that I hear about myself right now that I haven't even had a chance to even respond to yet is so absurd and asinine. I can't even believe that anybody would fucking believe it. It's crazy. So keep those 4 things in mind, guys. I jotted down some notes because I didn't want to miss shit here tonight. Before I dive into the actual negativity, I want to let the tail wag the dog a little bit here, put the horse in front of the cart in front of the horse. I want to talk a little bit about why I feel like the Retic community is so negative. And I think this is just something I think the reason I want to talk about it first is because I think when you understand the reason, it all makes a little bit more sense when I point out the ludicrousness of some of these comments and stuff. And honestly, guys, the number one reason is I firmly believe that of all reptile markets right now, and again, I've existed in, still exist in quite a few. I think that of all the reptile markets right now, there's a very strong argument to be made that reticulated pythons is the strongest, most competitive, what I call investment style market left in reptiles. Okay. So, what does an investment style market in reptiles means? Okay. Basically, what this means is when you buy an animal, breeders are selling you on the promise of basically more money. Okay. You buy a $5,000 retic and you breed it to another $5,000 retic. Those breeders are selling you think you're going to make the world's first or the world's highest blood percentage of this. Okay. You're always fucking chasing something. Okay. In these investment competitive markets. And you're sold on the idea then that you're going to create something that's worth even $25,000, even more than those $5,000 that you spent on each of your animals. Okay. So you get into this market looking at it, thinking basically the breeders are selling you on the idea of making money. Okay. And that's great. There is money to be made in these markets and these big dollar animals and stuff like that. There is something to that. But what you got to understand is that does absolutely drive competitiveness, right? And that competitiveness drives people into the market. People like myself who look at this market as somebody that, for one, I love the fucking retics. The only reason I got into it is because of the first retic I ever got. But also somebody that looks as this market as a potential market that can be used to make some money. The problem is what people don't understand and fail to realize is that in this type of competitive market, the price and value of animals also drops like an absolute fucking rock. Okay. And it's obvious. It's ball python 101, right? You invest in this new gene, and when it first comes out, there's hardly any of them. And there's certainly not a bunch of breeder sized animals. Okay. As more of those animals reach breeder size and more breeders, proper breeders, get them in their hands and start producing them, that drives the price down, and it drives the price down really, really, really fast. Okay. So I will compare this to a non-investment style market, but still what can be a lucrative market. And I think one of the best ones that I can think of is tree monitors. Okay. You will never, I promise you, ever hear a tree monitor breeder sit and sell an animal with the talk of returns in the future. It just doesn't fucking happen. That's not a message that tree monitor breeders will ever use to sell an animal. Okay. The other thing to think about with tree monitors, when you sell a baby, $2,000, that's been the price that they've been for about 5 years or 4 years since coming out of the COVID kind of crash. They've been fairly stable. Okay. You buy a baby, it's $2,000. If you raise a female and she gets to breeding age, she's worth a little bit more, but male's worth about the same. Okay. You're not looking at like a retic where, unfortunately, as soon as you buy that animal, that clock is running, and that value on that animal is getting less and less and less and less. Tree monitors aren't like that. You buy a baby tree monitor, 3 years down the road, you decide you don't like it, you can probably recoup 75% of your money. You do that with a retic, you'll probably recoup 25% of your money. Sorry, guys, that's just the way the markets work. And understanding that there's a difference between those markets is important. So I just want to lay that out, because as a professional and as somebody that views this through that lens, it's important to understand and think about the financial side of things. And certainly, I think it paints a picture of why some fucking people act the way they do. It's all about money, right? And that's what it's always about. Yeah, monitor community is great. So, okay, so that's my opinion on the why. So I want to talk, I guess. Anybody got anything to jump in before I just keep rambling?
No, I was just I don't know. I don't have a different hand signal to try to queue up the post that I was thinking you're about to read the post, right? Am I misreading?
Okay. No, I will read the post in a minute, in just a second. Yeah, I'm gonna read it in just a second. So have it ready. So I'm gonna get into my experience, my brief experience in the Retic community in just a second. But before I do, I'll just talk a little bit about my experiences in other communities. And I will be honest, I am not the world's most active person in all the online communities. Okay. And that is simply because I do not have time to be overly active. I would rather be working with my animals. Okay. And I give people tours all the time. I can give people tours anytime. I fucking take great care of my animals all the time. Cages are kept immaculately clean. Cages are well sized. Things are tip top notch up here. Okay. And I work 100 hours a week almost doing that. So I am not overly active in the Facebook communities. However, I do like to be involved in the communities, and I still scroll through my phone at night, and I am members in all these communities, and I see posts, and I occasionally give thumbs up and make positive comments. And when I do have something cool happen, or if I have a cool picture or something, I will share and post in these communities. And in my experience, the monitor community and like some of the Heloderma communities, I'm referring mainly to them. I'm also in like some dry marcon communities and stuff, but like the monitor communities are very helpful, but people are also kind of assholes in there too, but in an entirely different way than with the reticulated python communities. And what I mean by that is, my biggest thing with monitor people is everybody knows everything on the internet, right? So I could post something, and I promise you, I will post something and I will get people telling me I'm doing it wrong. I promise you, every time I post something, and I'm like, sorry guys, I'm not looking for recommendations. Like, I know how to breed these things. You know what I mean? So that is my biggest thing with monitor people. That is the only negative comment I have about monitor people, is everybody knows something and everybody wants to say your enclosure needs to be bigger, or your hide needs to be located here, or you're using the wrong style of bulb. The difference is, in that community, it's all rooted from good. These people think they're doing good. They think they're helping. One thing I've learned, and I know when doing reptiles, is there's freaking more than one way to do everything. Okay. Reptiles, you don't have to be perfect either. They're somewhat forgiving most of the time. So my experience in the monitor community is that it's generally positive. I do think people can be know-it-alls all the time, but there is not gatekeeping. There is not, hey, I don't like this breeder, so I'm going to fucking try and make everybody think he's unethical and he's awful and stuff like that. Shit just doesn't happen. So I want to, Lee or Levi, whoever's queuing up the thing here, I just want to share an interaction I had with a customer, and I remembered about this morning. Nope, not this one. This is the good one. You guys got the good one?
Oh, the good one.
So
here you go.
Yeah, boy, right there. Thank you. Okay. So I was cruising the Kimberly Rock Monitor forums. I've bred a lot of Kimberly Rock monitors. I was cruising the Kimberly Rock Monitor forums probably about a year ago or something around. No, not quite that long ago, maybe like 10 months ago. Anyway, I saw this guy post, and he was exasperated and frustrated about not being able to hatch his Kims. They kept drowning in the eggs. They kept not making it out. His babies that did hatch weren't robust and would die. And he said, I must have lost a fucking 100 eggs Kim eggs at this point. So I can't remember if I DM'd him directly or if I commented on his post and told him to DM me but I just saw that and I knew that I had had some issues with Kim eggs early on and I'd learned a lot about Kim eggs. So I reached out to this guy, we connected, we chatted on the phone for an hour. And then we exchanged some voice clips and I didn't hear from him for like 6 or 8 months. And that's the way it goes. Like, hopefully buddy's doing better. And then out of nowhere, just the other day, I got this, well, it wasn't the other day. You can see there in October, I got this message, but I hadn't talked to the guy in 6 or 8 months. And it just says this: "Hey man, just wanted to give you an update on my journey hatching Kims. Since we spoke, I've taken all of your advice. And while I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, I have hatched out 12 Kims, 3 different clutches with 0 issues. I will never be able to thank you enough, but I hope to one day get to meet you and thank you in person. You single-handedly helped me in a way you'll never understand. I don't know what else to say. I'm so fucking happy, man. Thank you. I'll forever remember this. I hope you achieve the highest level of success in life, brother." Okay, so I just point that out because I'm about to transition to my interaction. So keep this interaction from somebody that just so happy at the help I gave him in the Kimberly communities that I, frequently am involved in, to my experiences to the Retic community. So I bred my first retics in April of this year. Okay. And the first clutch I produced was a clutch of snows. Okay. And we're going to get to this in a second. You guys can read this now and think about it while I'm talking or whatever, but you can leave it up there. It's totally fine. So I posted my first clutch of snows in Morph Market, and I think I might have posted a couple pictures of them in some of the groups or stuff. And I was excited, man. It was the first time I'd ever produced retics. I'm still the type of person that gets fucking excited about shit like this. But I also at the same time didn't know, like, how's this going to go? How's the industry going to respond? Like, there's all sorts of trepidation and shit like that, even for somebody like me. So I posted these in Morph Market and I priced them all in the $15,000 to $2,000 range. And they were 50% super dwarf and they had old school blood and Kalatoa blood. They admittedly were not the highest end snow project. They just weren't, period. So I posted them and didn't sell any for the first day. I don't think I really got any like responses or anything. And then all of a sudden I got notified by a couple people that somebody had started bashing me in their private Patreon, basically going on about, "Oh, look at the prices on these snows from this new breeder." And then people started chiming in and like, "Oh God, this is the shit we worry about. This asshole is going to crash the market." So I am not the type of person necessarily to just sit back and take punches all the time. And so when I saw that and I got notified again by a couple people, I reached out to the person that posted it in their private Patreon, and I reached out to him privately. And I think I probably said something like, "Fuck you, dude. Wait till you see the next clutch coming." You know what? I'm just standing up for myself. I honestly expected the guy to respond, and maybe me and him would like yell at each other and then come to some kind of agreement or something. Instead, the dude just continues to basically take what I said and post it in his Patreon. And then his Patreon people continue to bash me and call me a douchebag and shit like that. And so here was my mistake. What should have I done? Then I should have just fucking left. To be completely honest with you guys, I should have left the Retic community, because that was my lesson then, is I should have just been like, whatever, and left and ignored it all. Instead, what I did is I decided to do what I thought was a good thing at the time and dig my heels in a little bit and paint the picture of the ludicrousness of what these people were saying when they were saying I should be selling these animals for at least $3,000 to $5,000. I had bought that pair for less than $8,000 less than 6 months before. So I made a post, I outlined the financials, and frankly, I talked about the fact that my goals and my future intents was to produce a couple hundred super dwarf reticulated pythons. Okay. We just heard Brian talk about producing a couple hundred super dwarf reticulated pythons. Let me make something clear, because people have taken that comment and made it out like I'm a mass producer, and that's my intent. I just want to paint a picture for you guys, okay? Last year was my first year breeding retics. I bred 3 females and I got 82 babies, okay? So let's just use an average of 25 babies per clutch. It only is going to take me 8 clutches to get up to 200 babies, okay? I am a professional breeder. Part of what I do is volume. I need animals moving and stuff, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that again in a second. And so anyway, sorry, my son just walked in here and distracted me.
It happens.
So I posted the financials and just kind of, I guess, argued back a little bit against these people in terms of what I thought was a bullshit call out and stuff like that. And I made a few posts about producing 200 babies in the future. And then what did people do? They just absolutely took that and basically completely ran with it. Okay. So during that time, I had a bit of a life learning lesson. I went through a really not great thing. My best friend in the whole wide world, this was the exact same timing, unfortunately lost his son to cancer, his 2-year-old son to cancer. And so one of the things that him and I had a discussion about was during his son's fight for cancer, he had gotten in a really big fiasco at his work with somebody that was supposed to be his friend that had basically fucking backstabbed him. And the long story short is he invested a ton of emotional energy and time into this guy. And I remember he would tell me about it. Can you believe this guy? We would talk about it for an hour at a time. And I understood he was mad. He was frustrated. Okay. So about a month later, we're talking. And I asked him for an update on that situation. And he goes, you know what, man? I don't fucking care. He said, me and that guy, I don't think we'll ever be great friends again, but I'm not mad at him anymore. I don't care. And I said, that's pretty big of you, man. And he goes, well, look, here's the thing. Here's what I realized a week ago. My kid was in a good cycle of his treatment while all that drama shit was going on. And I spent 15 fucking hours that week complaining to people on the phone and complaining about this guy and being emotionally detached from my son when I could have been playing with him. And now my son's getting chemo like hell. He can't talk. He can't keep food down. And he ended up, unfortunately, passing away a few months later. So I had a big learning lesson then that none of this shit was worth my fucking time and my emotional frustration, because it did affect me big time. When you pour what I've poured into my business, I had views on what I was doing was right. And I felt like what I was doing was right. And part of those views are in the fact that I think Super Dwarf should be becoming more available to people and not less available. It's the mainland that should be less available. Okay. So to sit there and hear people slam my business did affect me personally. But going through that event also told me, like, this is not fucking worth your time or energy. So I made a decision 6 or 8 months ago that I am done with the Retic community. I'm done with it. I'm not involved in it. I remember Brian Watkins asked me to be an admin of the group he created. And I said, I can, but I'm not really planning on being involved in the Retic community. And here's the thing, guys, that's not a great thing for anybody. I went 3 for 3 the first year I bred. I have quite a bit of reptile breeding experience. I love to fucking help people. Okay. I'm also proud of the shit that I do. Shunning away someone like me is not good for a community. I am not a bad guy. I fucking promise you that. Promise you that. Talk to anybody in the monitor community. It does not take any legwork to figure this out. Okay. Instead, what I decided is I'm fucking done. I'm out of the Retic community and I don't want anything to do with these people. I will sell my animals. I will post on my own private page and I will let my animals talk for themselves. Okay. That is what I did for 6 or 8 months. Okay. So why am I here again? How are we here again? Okay. And why am I addressing this? Because I feel like I shouldn't be, kind of, right? Like that's kind of the stance I took. But here's the thing. I want things to get better. I want to do good in the community. I want new keepers to not get approached and bombarded by these other people and these negative thoughts and stuff. So here's how I got drugged back in. Okay. After saying nothing and being silent for 6 or 8 months, and you guys can figure that out. Go look in all the groups. I didn't post shit for 6 or 8 months. Nothing. Okay. If anything, it was a thumbs up to somebody, or a, hey, good job, or hey, that snake looks great. That would be the only thing. And it was probably only 5 or 6 times. Okay. Well, about a week or 2 ago, I'm minding my own damn business. And out of nowhere, and again, it wasn't one person either. It was multiple people again. In a matter of 24 hours, I get notified by multiple people. Hey, I don't know if you know this, but there's this guy in this other Retic group that is just absolutely bashing you and your company. Okay. And I had no idea. Like, I was like, oh, great. What the fuck is this all over again? So lo and behold, I get wind of the comment. And admittedly, I read the comment and I was pissed because it was very bad shit. It was just it was things that were absolutely berating me and my company, basically making me out to be an unethical breeder, piece of shit, can't hold his animals, needs to flip stuff, just all a bunch of lies. Okay. And the thing that pissed me off is it was posted by a person that I had discussed and talked on the phone with during my first fiasco 6 or 8 months earlier. My discussion with that person 6 or 8 months earlier was a perfectly fine discussion. I even have the follow-up text I sent him that I could share with everybody. And during the discussion, we disagreed on some things, but it was a fine discussion. And I said, and I even followed up and I said, hey man, glad we could talk. I know we don't agree on everything, but you know, that's the way it goes sometimes. And again, people, I have all this shit in my phone. I have all the fucking receipts. Okay. When I saw that message that person had done, I admittedly reached out for the first 12 hours. I didn't do anything. I took the high road and I was like, I'm just going to ignore it. Fuck it. I don't care. But then I woke up the next morning and something else pissed me off and I was in a bad mood. And so I picked up my phone and I messaged the person and I said, fuck you. Okay. The Halmahera Ternate projects you're working, I'm working them now too. Okay. That's what I said. All right. That's all I said in the fucking text. That's it. Okay. And then I blocked the person because I didn't ever want to fucking talk to him again. Okay. So that is literally the entire interaction of what happened this last time. And that is all I did. Period. Okay. And then this is what has followed. And this is what is circulated in a bunch of different groups that I have not responded to yet. Haven't commented on, haven't talked to anybody except for I messaged somebody that runs a group about this when it showed up in the group and I wasn't able to respond to it. So him and I had a discussion about it. But other than that, I haven't discussed this with anybody. But go ahead and cue that bad boy up for me if you don't mind. Okay. As a result, I just want to throw this out there too. I saw this posted by more than one person. Okay. I saw this posted by multiple people. Okay. As a retic breeder / keeper, I support responsible breeding and selling of retics. I respect the retic industry and all the hard work that breeders put into it. I respect the retic market and pricing. I respect the dedication to working with localities and understand the importance of them. Because of that, I will not be supporting or doing business with High Desert Herps Brian Whitehead in any way. With his recent decision to do everything he can to destroy the local retic industry, I denounce his actions and behavior. It shows a total lack of respect for retics and the reptile industry as a whole. His past behavior suggests he doesn't care about retics, the market, bloodlines, or the well-being of the animals. Because of his willingness to ruin what we all work so hard to achieve, I feel the need to address this publicly. I will not be doing any business with him in any way, nor do I wish to buy, I think it's any of his animals or something like that. Furthermore, with his admission of malice intent, I cannot validate, corroborate, or verify any claims he makes of any localities or bloodlines he has. To mass produce retics to intentionally crash the market with no regards for the retics he's selling is wrong. This will lead not only to the suffering of retics, but will also hurt the retic industry. Someone who is willing to inflict this much suffering on animals, I have to assume is also willing to lie about localities, bloodlines, and percentages. I will have to assume everything they are doing for the purpose of harming the retic industry. He announced a year or so ago he was going to crash the snow project on purpose, and now he's going after localities. I support other breeders and keepers in this space too much to stay silent. People have put too much work, effort, passion, and love into their animals and business to be negatively impacted by someone who does not care. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Okay, so the first thing I want to say, and Lee, I'm going to ask you to pull that back up for me, or Levi, whoever's controlling that, okay? The first thing I want to say is, if you were somebody that posted this, or even if you were somebody that thumbs up this or gave it a positive comment or something like that, you should be fucking embarrassed and you should be ashamed of yourself, okay? Everything in this statement is false and it's all fluff. And I'm going to go through it line by line and one by one and talk about it. But the fact of the matter is, guys, you can't just make a bunch of fucking wild ass comments that are completely false about somebody as a breeder. And you'll notice that most of what's in here, none of it is real. It's all just like feelings. None of it is actual like facts or anything. It's like, this guy's bad and this guy's unethical. And in my mind, this is like Samson level shit. He's trying to portray me as Samson, whoever is spreading this message. And guys, that is not fucking okay. Like I said, I have worked my ass off to build this business. I respect my animals. I respect every reptile community I'm part of. Okay. Can you pull that up just again, Lee? And I'm just going to go through a couple more things and then I'm almost done, guys. I promise. Okay. So I'm going to start in paragraph 2 here. Okay. Because I don't really give a shit about that first paragraph. I will not support doing business with HDH in any way. With his recent decision to do everything he can to destroy the locality retic industry. Okay. That sentence alone is fucking insane. That is an insane sentence to mutter. Okay. When and where did I ever say anything about destroying the locality retic industry? The only thing I said was that I'm going to breed Halmaheras and Ternates. Okay. So guys, put 2 and 2 together. Here's the other thing. I am a professional breeder. What the fuck do you think I'm going to do with the pair of Halmaheras that I've already obtained in the last week and a half? What do you think I'm going to do with them? I'm going to breed them and I'm going to sell the babies to people. Yeah,
you're going to sell the snakes that you produce? Oh, okay. Crazy.
Yeah, that's called competition, guys. That's not called playing an industry. Get a life, get a grip. These comments are literally insane. Literally. Okay. I denounce his actions and behaviors. It shows a total lack of respect for retics and the reptile industry as a whole. Why? Because I want to work another project someone else is working? His past behavior suggests he doesn't care about retics, the market, bloodlines, or the well-being of the animals. I'm going to address that a little more in the next paragraph, okay? Because of his willingness to ruin what we all worked so hard to achieve, I feel the need to address this publicly. How am I ruining anything for anybody? Okay, other than maybe I'm putting a little bit of pressure on the one fucking person that wants to breed Halmaheras and Ternates. Tell me how that's a bad thing for anyone. It's not. So, continuing on, I will not be doing any business with him in any way, nor do I wish. Yeah, I don't really give a fuck about that. I don't really want to do business with these people at all anyway. Furthermore, with his admission of malice intent, again, I'm assuming that my malice intent is to keep Halmaheras and Ternates. What a fucking malice intent that is. I cannot validate, corroborate, or verify any claims he makes of any localities or bloodlines he has. Okay, again, I don't give a shit, okay? To mass produce retics to intentionally, this is my favorite paragraph, guys. To mass produce retics to intentionally crash the market with no regards for the retics he's selling is wrong. This will lead not only to the suffering of retics, but will also hurt the retic industry, okay? There is so much wrong with this paragraph, guys. Okay, first off, I already talked about the mass producing bullshit. 200 is not fucking mass producing when we're talking retics that lay 25 eggs per clutch. That's 8 females. Again, I'm a professional. Okay. This idea that I crash markets is crazy. It is crazy. People that say that don't understand what crashing a market is. Okay. I have zero interest in crashing any reptile market. I rely on these reptile markets to provide for my family. I have a lot more on the line than most people do. Okay. So this idea that I crash a market is obscene. Okay. What I do and what I understand is, as a business owner, and this is the discussion I had with that individual where he's trying to claim that I flip my animals and that I can't hold them for any amount of time. What I explained is, if I produce 100 animals, I cannot hold 90 of those animals for 6 months or a year. Okay. I have to have cash flow. Okay. So while you may have a boutique breeder produce one clutch, they want to get every single dollar for their animal, and that's their right. Okay. They can hold out until they get the buyers that they want and need. That's not exactly how a bigger business works. I have made the decision long ago. I would way rather sell a retic for $200 or $300 less and just get things moving. Okay. That is not crashing a market, guys. That is not crashing a market. That is appealing to an end, to a certain buyer tendency. There are a ton of buyers out there that want a Motley Snow Tiger. They're going to find the cheapest one they can get. Somebody needs to fill that need. Okay. And guess what? I produce more than a lot of people. So maybe that's going to be me that fill that need. Okay. That is entirely different than crashing a market, guys. And people need to understand that. Okay. People talk about how I crashed the snow market last year. That is the most absurd thing ever. For one, I produced one clutch of snows. Guys, it is not possible to crash an established market by breeding one clutch. Okay. I also sold every single snow that I had for between $1,200 and $2,000. Okay. I sold them for a lot more than I've seen ones go on Morph Market lately. I did not crash the market on snows. That is all a bunch of made up bullshit, people. It's craziness. Okay. Anyway, Lee, pull that bad boy back up. I'm almost done. And then you guys can chew on it and call me crazy, whatever you want. Okay, someone who is willing to inflict that much suffering on animals, I have to assume, is also willing to lie about localities, bloodlines, and percentages. I will have to assume everything they are doing is for the purpose of harming the retic industry. A lot of assumptions there. One other thing I just want to clarify, guys. Again, I'm a professional. The records I keep are better than just about anybody else I've ever met. Okay. I don't buy animals without records. I have the bloodline records that everybody else claims. Just so you know, a lot of the records that people claim to have are made up bullshit anyway. But I'm not in here fucking, oh, I don't know what snake this is. We'll throw them in with that, and then I'll just figure out what they are when they hatch. Guys, that's not how I run my business, man. I'm a professional. To think that that's how things go is crazy. So this muddying of bloodlines and shit, everything I have is got records, and I share the records to my fullest of knowledge with every single snake that I sell. Okay. So last one, he announced a year or so ago he was going to crush the snow project. I already talked about the absurdity of that comment. I support other breeders and keep the space. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. So the rest is just more fluff. So guys, I guess this is kind of my almost, again, my final plea. Like there is a big part of me that is like, this community is not even worth interacting with and involving in. My animals will sell themselves. And I'm not trying to be an asshole or a conceited prick, but guys, it's just the way business works and the market is. But honestly, that's not the way I want to approach this. And that's why I felt like this was the right podcast to come on, because I believe in the message that Bill and Lee and Levi are trying to get out there. And I've worked with Brian, and I've seen Brian's fucking name dragged through the mud too, with equally as ludicrous bullshit. It's all negative bullshit, guys. It's all spin. It's all to try and paint this picture of these guys aren't good breeders. Don't buy from them. Okay. It's all about money. And that's what I've truly firmly believe. And until people start like kind of waking up and thinking about like the fact that so many people were willing to post that statement that had never once talked to me, that have never once met me, that have never once, don't know a single thing about me. The fact that so many people were comfortable spreading that is absurd. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Right. Let me bring up
that's-
something real quick. Let me jump in on you just real quick. One thing I'll say about that post. One thing I'll say about that post is, yes, it's screenshotted to that. You can go find it in multiple groups. It's not very difficult to find. There's no receipts. There's never receipts with any of this. You see some of the big dramas and the catastrophic run-ins and all the shit that happens in the industry. Most of the time, there ain't receipts, bro. Like, people just believe what they hear, and it's a problem with the world. It's not just the Retic community or the reptile community, for that matter. But y'all got to do research, man. Y'all got to look into these things before you just fly off the handle and go 10 toes on something like this. Like, don't get me wrong, I stand on 10 toes of everything I believe. But when it comes to stuff like this, before I even knew High Desert Herbs, before he came on this podcast, before we started talking, I looked at this man's pages. I can't back that post at all. And I've talked to some other people about you, even what these guys know, because I wanted to know, bro. I wanted to know the truth. And the truth is, it's not true. It's exactly as you're saying. It's a painted picture to make somebody look bad, and people bought into it. And that's disturbing.
I've been doing reptiles. I agree with everything you said. I've been doing reptiles for 20 years, and I challenge anybody in any other market to find anybody willing to say a single bad thing about me. Like, that should speak for itself, right? Like, it's common sense, guys. So yeah, I agree.
Let me add this, right? So way back in my younger days, I was involved heavy in the music scene, from metal to hip hop to country. I was working with some of the biggest bands in the world. I've met some of the biggest rappers and people that you idolize. I have fucking met, shook their hand, had drinks with. And let me tell you, this reminds me a little bit of like the underground music scene where people were cutthroat, trying to shit on one another. But the difference is, they had receipts, bro. Always. If you got claimed on something, like, you better have proof, bro. Can we get back to that? Like, if you're going to say something, you better have receipts. You better have some proof in what you're saying. But I guess it goes back to that earlier part where everyone hides behind the internet. Everyone's got a keyboard. Everyone's got they're protected behind a screen and covering their tracks every way to Sunday because they ain't going to say nothing to your face. That's the other thing. I want everybody that watches this podcast, from the people, the things being mentioned, to anybody that's unbiased to this, to the ones that are biased to this, to anybody that happens to just pop in and randomly watch this podcast and you get this far in the episode. Just remember, it's a fucking keyboard and a screen. Brian, I want to touch on something that you brought up in that spiel that's very important. Your friend that lost his child, I am so sorry for that. I want y'all to remember, and especially the ones making these posts, especially you guys, and I hope you take this to heart. You don't know what somebody's fucking going through, dog. You don't understand the crazy that's on the other side. You don't understand what bear you're poking. I'm not throwing threats. I'm just literally telling you. You don't know what somebody's going through. Whether they go crazy and do something about it, or they end up on a dark path because you ruined somebody's fucking life over some internet bullshit, dog. This shit's unacceptable, man. If you got receipts like the Samson shit, absolutely. Shout out to you guys for exposing that. Like, that is one of the biggest things that's happened. Thank you, guys. And you know who you are. Thank you for doing that. But all this shit that's going on this, and it's not just that group, it's everybody. It's unnecessary. It's so fucking serious too, bro. Like, think about that situation. A man lost his kid. And that's Brian's best friend, bro. He's involved in that. And y'all doing this shit while that's going on? And then I'll throw my own personal experience on there. I lost my mom last month. And then what? 3 weeks later, I'm fucking dealing with this shit, man. I'm dealing with triple threats, name being drugged through the fucking mud. I'm watching my fucking family. And don't mistake that. That Bill is my motherfucking family. You don't understand the bear that you Poe bringing his name into this. That's my fam. I'm watching my fucking family's name get dragged through the mud, bro. For what? For what? For fucking what? Brian Whitehead, have you ever hurt any of these people? Have you ever went out, attacked them, said anything completely out of pocket about them or their family?
No, I've never even talked to any of them. Never even met them. Never even heard of them.
You said anything about these people? Have you ever gone after them? You ever physically touched them, done anything to physically hurt them, say anything about their family? Bill, you ever talk to these people? You ever done anything crazy? Hit them in their mouth, talk about their family, anything crazy out of pocket?
Absolutely not.
What about you, Brian Watkins? You ever said anything crazy, super out of pocket, just out of line, disorderly? Ever attacked their family? Done anything crazy like that?
Nope.
I sure as fuck haven't. So why y'all coming after people like this? That's what the fuck I want to know. This is my crash out part. This is where I take shit personally. Because you assaulting people's names. You dragging their name through the mud, and it's unacceptable. And the way it's being done is unacceptable. If you got something to say about somebody, it is what it is. But here, let me show this screenshot, bro. I don't know who this person is. I know what crowd he runs with. But this was set on our YouTube. And Brian, and shout out to your wife. I'm sorry she getting drug into this. But this is fucking unacceptable. You don't do this shit. And let me tell you, I understand. I understand. The internet, the keyboards, right? I understand all of it. So, saying you're going to do something, let me tell you, where I'm from and the people I associate with, if you said this in front of somebody, you wouldn't walk away from them. You wouldn't, whether you were carried out in an ambulance or a body bag. Where I'm from, that shit's unacceptable, bro. And I was raised that way. I was raised on respect. If that's who you associate with, if that's your crowd, and this goes for our crowd too. If you run around on the internet like that, or you run around in person like that, don't mess with us. Don't follow us. Don't follow me. Bill, Lee, I can't speak for y'all. Brian, I can't speak for y'all, but don't follow me. I don't want nothing to do with that. That's completely unacceptable. 1v1, we gonna talk shit back and forth. It is what it is. But crossing that line, it's unacceptable. But that's what these posts and these things draw the emotions out of people, and they know exactly what they're doing. It's intentional. Again, I'm gonna go back to the opening statement I made. Yeah, I get it, Rodney. You weren't comparing Bill animal-wise, but you brought Bill and Samson's name into the same thing, trying to draw the same emotion to shit on Bill. That was your exact result of what you're trying to get. And I get it. You're smart, dude. I'll give you credit where credit's due, but so am I. I'm an antagonist. I'm a fucking asshole. I know how these things work. I know what you up to. It's unacceptable. It's unnecessary. That's my fucking crash out.
I like it. That was a good one. I like it.
Well said, my man.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just going to throw it out there. One other negative thing is the gatekeeping, and we've all kind of touched on it in a different way. And it's these people that are trying to gatekeep. You're not going to touch Ternates or Hamaharas because I'm going to breed them all, and I'm not going to sell them to you, and I'm not going to let the people I sold them to sell them to you. Like, you can't fucking do that shit. It's not going to happen. Sorry, it's not.
It doesn't work very well.
No, you can't gatekeep with pricing.
Money talks.
Yeah. No, I'm just that shit's got to stop. Brian Watkins, do you have any more stories of shit that's happened to you?
Oh yeah, I do. I had the exact same thing that Brian experienced happen to me like a few years ago, and I think someone actually made a YouTube video about me, and calling me a toxic breeder, don't buy from me, blah 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 blah. And the guy who made that video, he disappeared. He tried to breed retics, wasn't successful. He dropped off the face of the earth. I have no idea what happened to him. But I mean, and it all stemmed over some like Facebook drama, and all of it taken out of context, and all of a sudden, like, now I'm a mean guy, I'm toxic, and blah blah blah. And it's like, well, when you're I guess arguing with somebody on Facebook, people, it gets elevated, and people, talk shit on one side and respond and talk shit. And it just, I don't remember exactly what that was all about. It was really stupid. And I didn't deserve to have that done to me. And at the same time, you know, uh, I'm trying to save up money to buy a house. And, it really, it kind of, it bothered me for like a little bit, like for a day or two, but then it backfired. And this people were spreading it around Instagram and Facebook, this meme, don't buy, you toxic breeder alert. It was so really stupid. And I know the person who made it, and the guy's an idiot. That you know, it backfired. And everywhere he posted it, people were like, well, what did he do? What's this all about? What did he do? And he couldn't come up with one thing that I did to back up why he was spreading that or posting it. And so it backfired. It increased. I just started selling. I sold out all my snakes like pretty quick. So I mean, that's just the most, I guess, dramatic thing that's happened to me in the past few years. But it's all the same group of people. It's all this. The source is always the same, and the same instigators. And it's not just in the super dwarf community. It's in the mainland retic community too. And it's the same, and it's the same there. Same group of people, that they feel like and a lot of them, they're not helpful to new people. They talk shit. They talk down to people, and they're real cliquey. And like Brian mentioned earlier, it's all about money. Basically, is what if you boil it down to the very basic part of it. It's all about money. And these people feel that new people that come on the scene, that are successful. Because I mean, honestly, retics aren't, for me. I've learned how to do it. They're easy to breed, but for a lot of new people, I remember when I first started, it was hard. And so a lot of people, they come in, and I guess if you're successful at it, you're considered a threat. You're gonna potentially take up someone's market share. You're out there. You're just another person on Morph Market or wherever, king snakes, selling snakes. You could take business away from them. So they use different, I guess, shady tactics to try to discredit their competition, and they use new people to turn against them. Use them as weaponize them, I guess, just like some of these people that we've been talking about and what you've experienced firsthand, Brian. I mean, it's really it's sad. I guess I've just kind of gotten numb to it. I don't ignore it because it has to be addressed. And I think what really pisses me off is the new people are seeing this. And I can't tell you how many people I've talked to who said they just don't want to have anything to do with super dwarf retics because of the bullshit they see in these Facebook groups. And I don't know, the people that are trying to
For sure.
the breeders out there that are trying to knock their competition down, I don't know if they really realize they're also knocking down customers too. Maybe they're knocking down more customers than their competition, and they're actually doing more harm to their business than they think they are. Or they, you know what I'm saying? So I mean, I started breeding retics in my spare bedroom. Okay, I don't, I didn't have a bunch of money to invest in animals. I made some pretty good decisions, built up a small collection, and all the money that I made, I put back into my business. And I'm literally like, a success story. A lot of these people, anybody out there who wants to get into retics and make money, I did, dude. I bought a house. I have a nice breeding facility. And it happened quick for me too. And now this next year is going to be the best year I've ever had. It's just amazing. I guess when people see that you're doing successful, they just want to talk shit. They're just hating, so I don't know.
Yeah,
I can't wait to see what you're bringing. Well, I know some of it, but I can't wait.
I wanted to make one more point on what Brian said here. I also think that it's worth pointing out the retic community, I agree, seems to think that like to discourage breeding and like competition is a bad thing. And I just want to point out the fact that the reason we all can breed reptiles the way we do is because of where we live and because of how many fucking people in the United States breed reptiles. So my point in this is I am a firm believer that the more people breeding, the more people successfully breeding brings more people into the hobby and the
It's good
industry.
for the hobby.
Okay. There is a reason that people, like, I could not exist in Europe. I could not exist in Canada because there's not as many people doing what we do. The amount of people breeding is what helps to continue to support this entire fucking industry. This industry does not exist in other countries like it does here. Okay. So this idea to me that it should always, you should never discourage more people breeding. It's always a good thing. Sure, the immediate result does drive prices down a little bit, but guys, everybody shits on ball pythons. We all have fucking ball pythons to thank for where we are today with reptiles, right? So the point is, don't all of a sudden, don't always just think that like, to limit your competition, because the more people in it, the more people doing this, the better for the longevity of this entire reptile market in the United States, because we have a reptile market like they don't in other places.
Right.
USA, USA, USA.
Damn right.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, hell yeah. To add on to that, right? Like, okay, so one of the arguments I've seen firsthand is that, oh, well, there's a limited amount of retics in the country. Okay, cool. But the way that this industry's heading, where nobody wants to breed and sell and deal with retics, when there's nobody around to deal with them, they're gonna go extinct in captivity eventually. Of course, maybe a handful of people keep them going, but then it's so limited again. Who are you selling to? You don't have a market to sell to because nobody wants anything to do with it. And I get the hype and I get the drive behind the super doors, but it's just like Brian said, as a person that has rescued and rehabilitated fucking mainlands, you don't want people buying a shit ton of mainlands. Those are the snakes. Yes, if somebody's going to come in and overproduce mainland reticulated pythons and push them out into irresponsible keepers' hands, we do need to shut that shit down. That's completely unacceptable, because those are the monsters. Those are the ones that get neglected, abused, hurt. The horror stories I've seen first fucking hand with the mainlands is how I got all this shit started.
Can I make a comment? So,
yeah, but super dwarfs are the answer. You get these out there, and they're more manageable. They're easier to take care of. They're not as dangerous, right?
Yep.
So I mainly breed super dwarfs, but I do on occasion will breed some mainland stuff. So I only breed mainland stuff so I could breed it back, take those genetics and breed it back into the super dwarfs. So like Ocelot, Aztec, all that stuff. So really cool stuff. And I agree that people shouldn't be dumping a bunch of mainland stuff out on the market. And I totally agree that there's, breeders need to breed responsibly. And, they need to not just pump a bunch of stuff out into the market and, and be conscientious of that. But at the same time, I every year I produce stuff that's nice, but it's on the lower end. It's more affordable for people. And I look at it as like, I want new people. I want to bring new people in. You know what I'm saying? So not everybody can spend $2,000, on their first super dwarf retic. I go to shows and I have a section, where I have $300, $400, $500 super dwarfs, and then I have another section where it's like $1,000 and over. And people love to come over. Dude, I sell all that, the lower end stuff, and it's all new people. I make friends with them, and they always come back. They always come back, and they want to spend more money. They get into it. They get bit by the bug. So to me, it's kind of a long-term thing. You're getting people in, and you're building the community, and you're growing interest. But at the same time, I make some nice stuff, that I don't want to let go for cheap, but I'm usually selling that kind of stuff to other breeders, you know what I'm saying? Who are interested in a project or whatever. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah. And let me tack on to that.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead. You go.
Let me tack on to that. Let me channel the ball python market, right? When I was learning ball pythons, one of the biggest things I was told was that your super high dollar animals, you're more than likely going to sell to another breeder. Unless you got somebody coming in with big pockets that's heavily investing in this, which isn't very often as much as people think it is. Like some high rollers come in, they buy your high-end shit, they clear you out. But that's the exception, not the rule. Your super high-end, big dollar ticket items are being sold to other breeders. So if you're limiting breeders, who the fuck are you selling to?
Right.
That's what I want to know. Who are you selling those high ticket dollars up to, especially in the numbers that people talk about? It doesn't make any sense. You need more people to come in. To do that, you need it to be more affordable.
Yep.
I'm not saying sell them for $50 like a normal ball python, and nobody's saying crash the market that way. No way, shape, or form has anybody ever fucking said that. I'm sure they'll spin that some way.
No, but reasonably affordable.
But you need to make them reasonably affordable. Again, you got to get them. They got to get bit by the bug somehow. It's like Brian said. They come back. They buy a higher dollar animal. They start investing. They start wanting to get into this because 1 turns into 2, 2 turns into 3, 3 turns into 4. And again, these are manageable animals for the most part, right? Unless all of what everyone's saying about the SDs are not true. And again, I'm not saying this. I'm just, if we're going to spin it that way, if they're unmanageable animals and they're scary like mainlands, and what are we doing here?
Yeah, I got a special term for super dwarfs, and especially like the cheap ones. I call them a certain type of snake. But yeah, they're the gateway drug, if you will, to like getting more. Like you get one of them, people fall in love with them, and they come back for another one. It's what it is. We have to get them in their hands because they're a great animal. You have to grow the market. More people need to have them, and that's my passion. Is I want everyone to have them.
Right. Exactly.
I think I said this to you guys before. I think that, until the day that you can walk into an expo and pick up a super dwarf for the super dwarf cross, of course it's not going to be pure, but like people are into the morphs, right? So until you can walk in and pick up a tiger super dwarf 50% for cheaper than a tiger mainland, I don't think we're doing it right? Like I feel like the people that breed the mainlands are putting in more, more into their animals. They're bigger. They should be worth more, honestly. And I understand why they're not. I get it. I get the whole investment thing. I already talked about all that. I get it. But why criticize these people that want to appeal to a lower end market like Brian's talking about and like you guys are talking about, when we can give, like, for example, I specifically bred a line of super dwarfs this past year that is an old school line that I picked up. I paid an arm and a fucking leg for the original pair that I got, and they were completely misrepresented to me. And then when I actually tracked down where they came from, I was like, okay, well, they're this CJ's Pets line. And you know what? It's a great super dwarf line, but I'm not going to sell the babies for $2,000 like I do the pure Kalatoas, or even $1,500 because they're old school. But that's a great $600 snake. I have the adults. They're fucking the same size as the Kalatoas I have, or maybe a tiny, tiny, tiny bit bigger, but not much. So yeah, that's another thing that I hate is this. You shouldn't be breeding the low end super dwarf stuff. That's bullshit. It's exactly what somebody should be breeding. Somebody's got to breed that. It's better than breeding low end mainland shit.
Yeah.
So until those,
you were making a great point that I want to jump on. Is those animals are perfect. Those animals that everyone's trying to get out of the market, the unknown localities, the old schools, they're perfect for this industry and they're perfect for this market. For the reason being is they're a smaller snake. Yeah, they can be a definite locality, so they're going to be more affordable for other people to get a smaller snake. But they're also guilt-free for breeding morphs into. As these pure localities become rarer and rarer and rarer, it's going to be harder and harder and harder to stomach putting a fucking morph to it when you could put a pure to it and make more pure.
I agree. I totally agree.
Scarce.
I totally agree with that point too. I totally agree with that. It's a great point. I love pure shit. That's another weird misconception. I love pure shit. I'm the type of person that, and Brian and I have talked about this because he likes like the, bat eaters and shit. I don't like that stuff. I like pure stuff.
Like, I do like that
really
shit too.
do.
I do like that shit too, Brian. I do.
Hey, to each their own. Like I said, breed what the hell you want. You know, that's my
Yeah.
big thing. Breed what you want. Everybody should breed what they want. If everybody liked the same shit, we'd be living in a real boring freaking world. I'll tell you that much.
Baddies
Yeah,
are
so,
acceptable, other hybrids
yeah.
are not. I'm just putting that out there.
For me, I'm one of those
I'm gonna
people.
crash
like,
out again.
I'm not a purist in that sense. I don't hate hybrids. I hear like, hey, I bet I'm bred these two things together. I'm like, I want to fucking see it. What does it look like? Like, I don't
Yeah,
imagine
yeah.
what it look
Well,
like.
dude, the tree monitor community, people hate like the idea of hybridizing tree monitors, and I totally understand it. I would never do it. I would never do it, and I would never advocate anybody doing it. At the same time, if somebody did it, and it's been done before, if somebody did it, I wouldn't fucking give them shit for doing it.
Yeah.
Again, breed what you want. Somebody wants to see what a fucking green blue tree monitor looks like, right? So yeah, I don't know. That's just my thing. Not my thing. I will never do it, just to be clear. But I'm also never gonna fucking hang somebody up by the balls for doing it or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, it's do what you want.
Right. All right, boys. We got 9 minutes left. Let's try to talk about some positivity. And Bill, I want you to kick us off on this, because out of all 5 of us, I'm not glazing here, to use a newer term that my son taught me not too long ago. I would say out of the 5 of us, you hold the path for positivity. I look at the comments, look at all the people in your store. You've united a family of people together in store. You built this expo. You've done wonderful things for the Arizona market. Dude, and just as a quick example, I'm not going to drop any names, but another person that I look up to highly in the Arizona community, and Bill didn't see eye to eye for the longest time. And it's one of the most gut-wrenching things for me, to be honest with you. It was one of the, like, I didn't want to feel like I was playing both sides. I want to be in one shop or the other. It was just super uncomfortable. But I'll tell you right now, I was there when Bill mended the bridge. He figured out a way. He got it done. And they're going to be doing an expo together. That's just the type of person that Bill is. He mends bridges. He brings people together. We're about to see a huge one come down the pipe here in a few episodes. You lead the way with positivity, Bill. And I've got the fucking receipts and I've got the evidence to prove it. You kick this shit off, my man.
I think it boils down to just trying to be kind, just trying to be at the root of it, you just try to be a good person. All these bad things that have been mentioned, what kind of a community is this? You know, when you hear this kind of stuff going on, it's really discouraging for a lot of people. And like you said, we want to grow the retic market. We want more people into it. What a fantastic animal! What a wonderful snake. So staying positive would be to try to ignore the negativity. Just, in my opinion, don't acknowledge it. Just forget about it. You know, address it if you completely have to, but try to stay out of it the best you can. Do it the Garrett Hartle way. He don't give a fuck, you know? And that's just like how you got to approach it, because you can't stop these people from doing it. All you can do is educate the community that this shit's going on, man. What the fuck? And now maybe some new people watch this and think, wow, maybe, you know, there's things about those guys aren't really all that true. Maybe I do want to buy a snake from them. That's what we're talking about. We're uniting the community. Let's get Brian Watkins and let's get Garrett Hartle on a podcast together. They're both good people. I know them both very well, and a lot of things they didn't see eye to eye on. But you know what? They went through it. They did it like I would do it, and they're being men about it. And now they're going to join a nice podcast together. And I think that right there is a community unification.
Yeah, absolutely.
100% it is. And let me tell y'all, I'm fucking excited for that episode, to have you two titans in the room together and be able to have a conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you. I can't wait. Yeah, I had a great conversation with him a couple days ago, and I have a lot of respect for him. He really has done a lot for the community, you know, regardless of what people think or say about him. I think he's another person, you know, he's at the top, man, and people they get jealous. They don't like people who are at the top, you know, and they want to talk shit. And he may say things that some people might disagree with, and that's cool. I mean, it's America, man. Fuck, I say things too that people may disagree with. So, it's as long as it's like what you guys are saying, as long as there's unity. We come together and we share our ideas, we learn from each other. That's what's most important.
Exactly. And I'll bring it back to cars because that's what I do. Chevy over Ford all day. I said it. It is what it is. We can argue. We can debate. I ain't never got into it with a Ford guy to where we're damn near fucking ruining each other's lives.
Hell yeah, man.
Amen. There's no insults back and forth. We have fun with it. And, it's just it's an argument at the end of the day. That's how not agreeing on things are supposed to go. We agree to disagree at the end of the day, or we find points that we agree on. And that's where we sit. There's a middle ground to literally everything, and the world has devolved into such a I can't agree with you, so I hate you. Okay.
Well, one of the things that got me into reptiles. I mean,
I actually kind of want. What got you into reptiles?
Well, when I was younger, I used to watch shows like Nova and stuff like that, and it really sparked my interest. And I think the main motivator for me is education, learning. That's what I'm into these reptiles for, is to learn stuff about them, and I like to share what I learn with other people. I could talk for hours, to any one of you or anybody else about any type of different reptile. That's the fun part about it. That's what keeps me here. That's what keeps me doing this.
Same.
Yep.
I just want to say one thing too. I am so happy that Brian Whitehead is continuing on with the Retics. This is exciting, guys. This is great. Yes. He didn't let them win. He didn't let them chase him off. He jumped in with both feet and said, "Fuck it," even in this toxicity. And my hats off to you for that, bud.
And I won't be deterred. I love the Retics, and I hope. So here's my vow. We're talking positivity and stuff. I firmly believe that, again, there's no place for negative comments on anybody's Facebook posts and shit like that. And that is the easiest, I guess, like vow is you will never see me ever negatively post on someone's Facebook post ever. And that's kind of a vow I'm making. I'm not engaging in that shit moving forward with people. And I mean, I think it's a little different when you approach somebody in private. But anyway, I agree that there's not a place for that. And I think that that's one thing that, I feel pretty comfortable saying moving forward, that I'm not partaking in bashing of anybody's posts. It's all just positive comments. Hey, nice job, or, shit like that. And that single step, like if you don't feel the need to make a negative comment or bash somebody, like that single step alone makes such a massive difference.
Yeah, real.
100% agree with that. Oh, by the way, let me state this. This is the one and only episode I'm crashing out in this form of. This is the only response I'm making. This is the only time I'm talking about this. I'm not going to respond to shit moving forward. I don't care what you have to say. I don't care what anybody has to say in the comment section. I'm not responding. And I'm talking for myself here. I had to defend my fam. I had to defend our podcast. I got to defend both the Bryans, defend Lee. That's what this episode is. It's a one and done for me, and I'm not engaging in this shit anymore. This isn't for clicks. It was supposed to be for clicks. I'll keep it 100 with you. It was more of a clickbait title. Let's have fun with it. But it got serious quick. So I don't want to do this shit again. I'm not about the drama. I'm not about the nonsense. If you want to talk, we can talk face to face. I don't talk on the fucking internet, bro. We can go face to face at an expo. That's how I do things. Everybody in the Arizona market knows I'm at every fucking expo. If you want to have a conversation, let's have a conversation in person. Let's actually get to fucking know each other. So there's a little bit more personable action there, accountability.
Yep. I agree.
And we'll be at other shows around the country down the road. So don't agree. We ain't leaving out the East Coast.
All right. Boys, that was great. It's a long one, but it was a good one. It needed to be done.
I agree. 100%.
Yeah. Thanks. Hey, I appreciate you guys having me on.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on, guys. Both of you. Really appreciate it.
Hey, and if anybody wants to join a positive Discord, we're send us a message on Triple Threat IG, if you want to be part of the community, we're starting a Discord of like-minded people.
Yeah, follow Brian at High Desert Herbs on Instagram, Facebook. Are you on TikTok, bro?
Nope.
Okay,
Just
Facebook,
Facebook,
Instagram?
High Desert Herbs, and Facebook is High Desert Herbs, and Instagram is HDH_reptiles.
All right. What about
Give me a
you, Mr.
follow.
Watkins? Oh, sorry.
Appreciate it.
Anybody want to find out information about me or my social media or what I have for sale? It's all on my website down there, hellcreekreptiles.com.
Love it.
Let's go. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Triple Threat Retics. Boys, I think we out of here.
Yep. Take us home. Take us home, Levi.
Peace, guys. Take care.